Hello, hello. Alrighty, let's get into it because this has been an interesting couple of days here. In the world of sports, in the world of mental health, in a clash of generations, I feel like even. I feel like you have the old veteran generation that is Serena Williams' age and above, which is the late 30s. I think Serena Williams is 38. So you have her generation and older, so people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and above. And then you kind of have the divide with people who are much younger in their early 20s. I think Osaka's, 23? So it's a clash of philosophies about mental health. It's a clash of generational biases about mental health. And then, of course, the biggest epitomic clash, which is just sports culture that does not support mental health and does not welcome mental health struggles, actually avoids it at all costs. So there's the clash of that with the new generation of athletes that in our modern times are saying, no, we're not succumbing to this anymore without support and resources to help us when we do struggle, because the old philosophy of sticking it out, the old philosophy of toughing it up, it just does not work anymore. Maybe it worked back in the day when people had, I guess, the tolerance to just suck it up, tough it out, however you want to say it. But I think the level of sophistication of athletes, just in general, as a society, we've become a lot more intelligent over the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. So the old school style of toughing it out just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't apply anymore. And actually, it's becoming so harmful to the point where, yeah, it's harming athletes who were toughing it out just doesn't work anymore. It's not good enough, and it just does not solve the solution. It just does not solve a problem for the level of sophistication that our minds have become accustomed to. So I don't know if that made sense. This is why I'm a writer. And yeah, I just put it all on the page. So we're live on stream. We're live streaming on Twitch. If you're on my Instagram page here, I have my Instagram going on the left here, and then I have my Twitch going on my computer. So let's talk. A couple days ago, Naomi Osaka. Let me share my screen here because I want to show these articles. Okay, so Naomi Osaka, May 31st, which was yesterday, but it was the day before, so May 30th. She withdrew from the French Open, and I believe she played the first round. So she played the first round, and then typical tennis tradition, after you play your match, whether you win or lose, they route you to the press conference where you answer questions from the reporters. And obviously the reporters' questions, journalists and reporters are notorious for asking the worst possible questions to make you feel even that much worse when you lose. It's like salt on the wound. Oh, hey, yeah, what happened? You missed your ace, and then you missed the next two backhands. That probably costed you the match. How do you feel about that? right? Reporters are just notorious for asking the worst questions at the worst time. And, looking back, I'm a big tennis fan. Looking back at Osaka and other interviews and press conferences, you can totally see her anxious tendencies. I guess you could say at first she's shy, she's just very polite. That was my initial impression of how she conducted herself in interviews. But now with this really rearing its head, you definitely see, like eyes looking down, her body language, the way she expresses herself in these moments where she's in a press conference or in an interview. Looking back now, hindsight's 2020, you can definitely see some of her anxiety coming through. So, I guess it's just interesting how people's personalities and the nature of the person, it's interesting to just look back and notice those behaviors. But after she played her first round, essentially she said, no, I refuse to participate in the press conferences. I forget her exact quote, but she said, I don't want to put myself in a position to allow people to doubt me. And that's exactly what these reporters do. They ask you these questions. They use certain vocabulary. They phrase the questions in certain ways where you probably can start to doubt yourself. I mean, psychology is such a large component of sports anyway. One particular word in the reporter's question could plant a seed of doubt. So I don't blame her. But tennis and I guess basketball, football, not swimming. I was a swimmer, not swimming really, unless you're at the Olympics. Yeah, I guess just the professional. When you get to that level, the press conferences become the norm. I was gonna say tennis, it's just traditional sport to begin with. It's so rooted in tradition. I mean, even Wimbledon, the players have to wear white because that's been a tradition since Wimbledon started, however many decades ago. So she kind of broke that tradition and broke the legacy, but a fissure in the world of tennis by not going to the press conference, just simply not attending the press conference. So that in and of itself is just a big F you to the tennis Grand Slam people. But after that happened, essentially the Grand Slam tournament people who were on the tournament came back and said, oh, well, you better go to the press conference after the next round, because if you don't, we're going to fine you $15,000, I believe. Let's go down and look. This is the article from NBC Sports. Let's see if we can find. I believe it was $15,000. Yeah, here it is. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. She was fined $15,000 when she skipped the press conference, drawing a stunning warning from all 4 Grand Slam tournaments that she could face stiffer penalties, including disqualification or even suspension if she continues to avoid the media. And then I didn't hear this part or didn't see this part because I'm not on Twitter, but it says Osaka turned to her preferred method of communication, tweeting, "Anger is lack of understanding. Change makes people uncomfortable." Yeah, I totally agree with that. But it's just now interesting, and I'm going to read names of the 4 tournament referees, I guess. It's the tournament referees at Roland Garros, which is the French Open where it is. It's, and I'm going to botch the French pronunciations, but Gilles Moreton, Australia President Jane Herdlicka, All England Club Chairman Ian Hewitt, and then the USTA President Mike McNulty. So I guess their rebuttal was these interactions allow both the players and the media to share their perspective and for the players to tell their story. I guess what irks me a little bit about this is Osaka was very polite about this from the get-go, like explaining, hey, I don't want people to doubt me. I struggle with these press conferences. Yeah, it's tradition, and we all know it's tradition. We all know it's what the tennis players do. It's what they've done. It doesn't mean it's right, but it's what they've done. And so her professional communication, citing the reasons why she did not want to partake in the press conference, I just thought it was professional. It was the right approach to go about this. If there's a way for someone to go to these tournament referees, presidents, and tell them you're not going to do this in a very passive, peace, non-violent way, that's what she did. And so what irks me is that these people of power in the tennis world basically came back and said, not verbatim, but hey, screw you now because you're not going to do this. If you don't do it the next time, we're going to fine you $15,000. That just like really rubs me the wrong way personally, and I know it rubs a lot of athletes and other people the wrong way as well. Like, she's citing mental health concerns, anxiety, depression, and this is just a whole other layer of why society at large, but the sports world in particular, doesn't take those states of being seriously. Because if you are an anxious person with anxious tendencies, or you're a person that often falls into depression, or just feels states of being depressed and really down, then you understand how close you are to really spiraling down bad. And in either way, with anxiety, with depression. So I hate to even be morbid about this and think of the worst case scenario, but when someone is struggling with those fragile states of mind and those fragile feelings and just kind of struggling to even manage their own brain, it doesn't take much to really like kick out the gate and let the snow fall down. It doesn't take much. And so I think that's just what really irked me and rubs me the wrong way with these tennis presidents and referees, is that she came to them very polite, very professional, cited her mental health concerns, said this is why I'm not doing it, and they basically didn't take it seriously and came back and just came from a point of not understanding. I think that's a large part of the problem. It's just like these old school tennis people just don't understand. That's kind of what I was saying earlier about like the different generations. Anyway, so that's just what rubbed me the wrong way. So then, fast forward after that, she says, screw you, slam leaders. I'm actually pulling out of the tournament. I don't care how much you fine me. I don't care what happens. I'm protecting my mental health first. Yes, Osaka, support you. She said, I'm protecting my mental health first before any consideration of playing in a match, playing tennis. Like, and I also like love her for doing this too, because tennis is one of those sports where you can make a lot of money when you win. And I just commend her so much. Not that she needs money. She's already won so much, but like, I just commend her. This is such a powerful message to everyone in sports that no money is worth sacrificing your mental health. No trophy is worth sacrificing your mental health. No accolade or brownie points or what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? Bragging rights. Nothing about winning or continuing to compete when you're feeling that way is worth you're sacrificing your mental health. And so I just love that at literally one of the 4 Grand Slams, the top of tennis, where the prize money is so huge, she says, hey, screw it. This is not worth it. And if you're going to fine me because I'm protecting myself, screw you. I'm not taking part. I just love her for this. It's such a strong message in so many ways. So that's what happened. And now, I'm sure everyone, for the most part in the sports world, has read her response where she's like, you know, people have no regard for athletes' mental health. This rings true, blah, blah, blah. not saying blah 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 in a bad way, just saying like she wrote out this heartfelt message. I don't want to be taking the spotlight. It should be back on tennis, whatever. I'm not playing anymore. And I love that. And so fast forward after that, now I think the slam leaders and the USTA president and the referees, they look so bad. I just have to say it. They look so bad. They look incapable of understanding. They look out of touch. They look harsh in a way that's making decisions not in an athlete's best interest. And and not to mention the fact, let's jump over to CNN Business article where Nike backs Naomi Osaka after she withdraws from the French Open. So now, not only do the slam leaders look stupid and are seen as these out-of-touch, harsh leaders, now you have Nike, literally the biggest, largest, most notable sports brand in the globe. Nike is now coming forward and backing Naomi Osaka and supporting her. And, sharing that they recognize, like it says right here, they recognize her courage in sharing her own mental health experience. And so that alone is amazing. I'm so proud of Nike for coming out and supporting her and backing her, because Nike, no matter what they find Osaka, if they even follow through with doing it, Nike got her back financially. But I just love that support from such a brand name like Nike. That speaks volumes as well. And so I believe that's the most recent that I've seen on the news. Nike backs her. And then let's see. No, fast forward even more. Let's look here. So now I'm on the Detroit Free Press. Leaders of tennis Grand Slam pledge to address Naomi Osaka's concerns. Yes, and this was 2:53 p.m. today, so 4.5 hours ago. The leaders of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments reacted Tuesday to tennis star Naomi Osaka's stunning withdrawal from the French Open by promising to address players' concerns about mental health. And then this was their statement. On behalf of the Grand Slams, we wish to offer Naomi Osaka our support and assistance in any way possible as she takes time away from court. She is an exceptional athlete, and we look forward to her return as soon as she deems appropriate. And that's coming from the 4 people that are in charge of the 4 Grand Slams: French Open, Wimbledon, US Open, and Australian Open. They go on to say, mental health is a very challenging issue, which deserves our utmost attention. It is both complex and personal, as what affects one individual does not necessarily affect another. We commend Naomi for sharing in her own words the pressures and anxieties she is feeling and empathize with the unique pressures tennis players may face. Crickets. Frankly, when I read that, I just say BS. This is a PR statement, because you have to kind of backtrack and lick your own wounds because you're so harsh and not understanding, and now you look really bad, so you have to come out and do this, right? Like saying mental health is a very challenging issue which deserves our utmost attention. You can't say that and then also fine people $15,000. I'm sorry, you just can't. So I guess that's the latest, because that happened a few hours ago. I don't know if Osaka has responded. Other tennis players have come out and support her. Okay, so the last point I'll bring up, and the last thing I want to say about this, and it kind of piggybacks off the statement that they said. Mental health is a very challenging issue which deserves our utmost attention. It is both complex and personal, as what affects one individual does not necessarily affect another. So, on that statement, I want to talk about Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka. So, in in one of these articles that I read, I'll find the source and which one it exactly was, but Naomi Osaka says, my challenges with mental health and being in the spotlight and handling anxiety come from the 2018 US Open match, the championship match in which she won. And that's the match that she played against Serena Williams. And that's the match that Serena Williams got caught for illegal coaching. That I think Serena Williams was penalized a point and a game because she was yelling at the referee, calling the referee a thief, basically throwing a tantrum on the court. I also want to preface this and say I think Serena Williams is an amazing athlete, but I think they're just very stark contrasts and very stark differences between her and Osaka, and that are neither right or wrong. That there's no right or wrong. Every individual is different. Every individual has a different upbringing. Every individual has a different experience. But I think it's just interesting that moment, that match, according to Osaka, was the beginning of the end, in a sense, like the beginning of the downfall of Osaka's struggling with the media, struggling with the hate comments, struggling with anxiety, struggling with all this stuff. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, and the reason why I'm bringing Serena Williams up, is because she commented on this whole situation with Naomi Osaka. Go back to it. And Serena Williams' thoughts were, she says, this is Serena Williams talking about Naomi Osaka. The only thing I feel is that I feel for Naomi. I feel like I wish I could give her a hug because I know what it's like. Like I've said, I've been in those positions. Okay, yeah, that's sweet, makes sense. And then she goes on to say, not everyone is the same. We have different personalities. I'm thick, other people are thin. Everyone is different and everyone handles things differently. You just have to let her handle it the way she wants to, the best way she thinks she can. That's the only thing I can say. She's doing the best she can. And so to me, when I saw that and that from Serena, I just thought it was a major elbow in the side, a major slight toward Osaka, saying like, oh yeah, everyone's different. Like, I'm a thick person. I can handle it. I don't deal with issues like this. Because she says other people, I'm thick, other people are thin. Like, other people can't handle it. Like, to me, I don't know. I'm just disappointed. Every time Osaka and Serena come together, if it's in a match or now it's this situation, I'm constantly disappointed by Serena's response and her behavior. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to find a balance, I guess. And I don't know. I understand everyone's their own person. Everyone's acting in the heat of the moment. But to me, to come out and say that, like, oh yeah, we just have different personalities. Everyone's different. Like, I'm thick, other people are thin. I just don't respect that comment. I don't. It also just goes to show, and this is what I was talking to at the very, very beginning. I think there are just such different generational approaches, generational, I guess, perspectives about mental health that are really showing here. Serena Williams, 38. Naomi Osaka, 23. I mean, I know they're competitors, so they're not going to be best, honest, genuine friends. They can respect each other on the court, but in a sense, I don't think they could be like best buddies. It's just like competition. But I don't know. I just don't. Again, disappointed from Serena Williams' comment about Osaka because it came across as like, I'm thin, other people are thin, a slight toward Osaka about her mental health struggles. So that could be a whole nother conversation. I think I would want to talk about that one day. If anyone wants to join me in a conversation about generational differences and even generational, but even like socioeconomic differences, that's another conversation, because I think like people who have lack of adversity in their life, have a lot of things solved for them, tend to have more mental health struggles because they have the time to have the mental health struggles. I know that's a weird statement to make. I know mental health doesn't discriminate, but I wonder, there's just a hypothesis. I wonder if there's data out there or research out there on that, because I don't know. I just think sometimes I struggle with anxiety, and if I was concerned about paying my rent every week and having food on the table every night, those would be my problems, like surviving. I wouldn't have room in my brain or in my life to be anxious about a conversation I had with someone. I don't know. I guess that's a harsh, weird way to look at it, but different generations, I think, contribute to that. Different socioeconomic classes, I think, leads to that. If anyone wants to join me on that conversation and educate me on that, because I think it's interesting, that would be cool. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens next. Clearly, the tennis leaders came out with that statement saying that they support her. I don't know if they're actually going to follow through with fining her. I didn't see that, so that'll be interesting to see. Also, it'll also be interesting to see two other things. One, what other athletes will respond. A lot of athletes have come forth, and a lot of athletes have supported Osaka in being honest and transparent and open about her mental health struggles. So it'll be interesting to see if and how other athletes' behavior changes in similar situations, just any of sports situations where these topics come up and the mental struggles do come up. So it'll be interesting to see, one, the other athletes' behaviors in the next, 6 months, a year, even sooner. And then the second one, it'll be interesting to see, particularly in the world of tennis, what, if anything, will change when it comes to the press conferences, when it comes to the news reporters, when it comes to the journalists. There has to be a better way to extract information from the athletes than the way that's currently being done now, because not only Osaka is hating these press conferences. I think in these articles, either she or another tennis player talks about how these tennis players finish the press conference and then fall to pieces because the questions suck and they're insensitive. So it'll be interesting to see if the press conferences change. I don't know. Let's ask the audience, what would be your solution and replacement to the way press conferences are done today? If as a fan, if you're still curious, at the third set tiebreak, you threw a bomb ace. What was going through your head? That information is cool. It's fun to hear about that. But then, of course, these news reporters are going to ask some of the negative questions as well. So is there a better way to facilitate extracting that information from the athletes? And if there is that way? Is it doing a live stream like this on Twitch where there's a moderator moderating the question so these news reporters can't ask doubtful, insensitive questions? Is it just an athlete writing it out and just kind of publishing it as an article? What, in your opinion, feel free to comment. What, in your opinion, would be a better way to manage the press conference routine where athletes don't have to feel like they're being attacked, they're being doubted, and they don't have to struggle through that process so much so to the point that they would actually rather pull out of the entire tournament than do it? So that's all I have to say about that. Mental health is so important. I don't think you don't need to hear it from me. You can obviously just look at people's behaviors. If there's one that you really want to look at, understand people and why they do what they do and who they are as a person, they say actions speak louder than words. And yes, it's 100% people's behavior. And that's actually a good point. Oh, thank you, Kim. That's actually a good point, because these tennis leaders that just made this statement, oh, we support Osaka, we totally support her for coming out, and we support the topic of mental health because it's incredibly important. Okay, great words. They say that in an interview, they can write that in an article. Is their behavior going to reflect that statement? Is their behavior going to change, actually reflect their quote unquote support of mental health? And we'll see. If it doesn't change, then you can basically cross off the list that, okay, well, those tennis leaders actually don't care about mental health. You can tell a lot about people's behaviors, more so than any word could ever come out of their mouth. So yeah, just last little rant there. But I'm proud of Osaka for stepping up. I'm proud of her for pulling out of the tournament completely. I think it's another novel, headline-worthy topic that, in my opinion, should eventually down the road, it shouldn't be happening, first of all, but then it shouldn't be such a taboo clickbait topic, talking about mental health. It should, like if these problems happen and athletes need to pull out of a tournament or whatever, it should just be another curve along that athlete's journey, not worthy of a headline anymore at that point. Hopefully the stigma can be removed and we can help support athletes in a way where that be possible one day. So thanks for watching, and we'll see what happens if the tennis world changes.